everyone to the League of Cinephiles. My name is Alex Helmer.
And I am the co-host, Dev Stafford.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of CINEMAWARS, our second of Season 4, guys. Today's prompt: what movie should have won Best Picture in 1994? Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, or Forrest Gump? Dev, my co-host, how are you doing today? And how excited are you to delve back into, 1994, get back into this time machine?
I'm doing great today, Alex. 1994 was one of the most competitive years for Best Picture and, one of the best years of cinematic history. So there's a strong argument to be made for all three of these movies, and I'm insanely excited to see how each of our participants make their argument.
Couldn't agree more. Let's stop talking about them. Let's get to them. Let's get to this fun debate. First of all, he's a former multi-time champion regarded as the best of all time. It is Big J from Mignolo making his Season 4 debut.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. You were here near the beginning in the first ever CINEMAWARS. How are you feeling in Season 4, our final season, going against two of your biggest foes?
Well, it's a bit sad that this is going to end. I don't know what a lot of us are going to do in the weekends, but yeah. But I'm ready. I'm ready to defend the title. I won on the first year. I want to end it with a win, so I go out as being one of the guys that made a splash in this competition.
Great. And another guy who arguably made not as much a splash as you, but a pretty good splash when he jumped into that pool, it is Tristan French.
How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you doing? We saw you in the TIFF series. Now you're back in CINEMAWARS to try your hand at movie debating. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I feel like I love trivia, but CINEMAWARS is really where I feel like I strive. So I'm excited for this, and I know this is the last season, so I'm going to try and do my best to maybe get that championship back for CINEMAWARS.
Great. Of course, Nikita right now is our current champion. He's watching this eagerly as we head over to our third and final competitor making his Season 4 return. Returned, of course, in the Battle Royale last season. Of course, it is Crazy Kyle.
Hello. It's such an honor to be back and facing against some great competitors. I mean, Onyolo and Tristan for the first match back. It should be a good one.
Let's not waste any more time. Dev, what are the rules for CINEMAWARS?
There will be 3 rounds: the opening statement, the rules, and the closing statement. There will be a cinema-related prompt in which competitors must find an answer for. A wheel will be spun to determine who will pick their answer first. Competitors will argue on behalf of their answer and will debate against other competitors. Judges will grade each competitor out of 5 points for the opening and closing rounds and 10 points for the rebuttal round. The competitor with the most points at the end of the match will be declared the winner.
Of course, there are 3 answers, Dev, and 3 competitors here, so the wheel's extra important today. Of course, I didn't add the spin again slice myself. It's just kind of there. So let's see what happens. Of course, no answer can be repeated, so let's do this. Oh, of course it is. The anguish, the tension, it's palpable. Ooh, and it's Kyle.
Yeah, so I'm going to choose Shawshank, and I think Shawshank was the deserved Best Picture winner of 1994 based on what we had. And in this lineup, I think for many reasons, Shawshank just represents a quintessential film. Unlike Forrest Gump and unlike Pulp Fiction, I think Shawshank is very timeless. It has a very relatable protagonist that you can always kind of sympathize with and understand. I think the story itself has huge aspects of just general American life, as well as just general life in general for the prison system. How we see how prison treats us, how it's broken down into many different systems, and how we are treated as a society. I think it deals with great commentary from the adaptation of a novel. And I think the direction is brilliant. Obviously, the acting from both, I'm blanking on his name, but Morgan Freeman and the lead actor, Tristan, do you know the lead actor's name?
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins is just incredible. And it obviously ends with one of the greatest endings of all time. So
great. All right. No spin again slice this time. I don't know why, but, hey, go crazy. All right. 50% chance. Let's see what happens. Tristan goes second.
I'm going to go with Forrest Gump. I think the thing with this film is, you know, it's got a bit of a backlash at this point, because it is the epitome of the kind of films that were winning Oscars in the 1990s. But I think when you look at Best Picture, it's not necessarily like the best is subjective. Best Picture represents the film that pushed the medium forward the most that year. And I think that's what Forrest Gump did. You know, it was a huge cultural moment from a technical standpoint. They were able to put Forrest in all of these big moments throughout American history, and the technology was brand new. But it also was such an American film that celebrated the country and celebrated so many moments over time. And especially after, you know, the 80s and the 70s, and where there were so many difficult times that the country was going through. The early 90s felt like it was like this rebirth, and Forrest Gump celebrated that. It was a celebration of life and history, and it's a film that meant a lot to many people.
Okay, so I got Pulp Fiction, and that's exactly the one I wanted, because I think when we're talking, and Tristan just said, when we talk about the Best Picture winner, it has to be someone that, like, it has to be a movie that changes the media, that makes something that you didn't saw before and brings all the elements. And that's exactly what Pulp Fiction did. We don't realize now, because we have a lot of movies that does exactly the same that Pulp Fiction did at the time, but even the non-linear narrative and the way that Quentin Tarantino brought the script, the actors, everything together, it's something that now we see more and more. And even the Oscar winners that we've been seeing lately with like Everything Everywhere All at Once are being more movies that are pushing things forward, that are bringing different things in. And Forrest Gump and even Shawshank Redemption were what we could even call like Oscar bait. It was the movies that you would expect that would win an Oscar. But from what we see, especially today, the way that Pulp Fiction changed cinema.
All right, Dev, so the opening round has been concluded. Scores have been tabulated. Your brief thoughts.
I thought it was really interesting how the played a factor. Personally, I thought whoever got first pick could Pulp Fiction, so the fact that Pulp Fiction ended up falling to Agnolo makes it a really interesting case out of the argument.
Yeah,
I thought Kyle didn't start off with the straightest, with the most strongest opening, making the argument that, you know, Shawshank is timeless versus the other two, which I think all three could make the argument that they're timeless, as well as, you know, not really knowing, you know, you had the first pick in the movie you chose, you couldn't remember the lead actor from. It's not exactly a great look for your opening argument.
Okay, Dev, sorry.
All right, so the scores. Kyle at the bottom at 5.9, Tristan at 8.4, and Agnolo in the lead at 8.9. Don't worry, Kyle. The most important round...
I can come back. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can. The rebuttal round is just around the corner, guys. Whenever you are ready, let's get the most important round started.
I can start, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go after Tristan on this, because one of my biggest problems with Forrest Gump is exactly all the points you talked as positives. It's a very American movie. It's a very sanitized and clean American movie that, and I know I'm probably going to be in trouble because you guys are all American, so you're probably going to be all happy about it. But it's a movie that like kind of reinvents history in a way that today, especially for a younger generation, people would not take that in the right way. It's also a movie that it goes into like the way Tom Hanks is an amazing actor and does a great role there, but the way he portrays someone with a mental deficiency is not, sometimes it's more a characterization. And like, I don't want to go on what Dev said, but yeah, crazy, like Kyle, I have to say, if your best movie is someone you don't even remember the best actor,
okay, sorry, no, I just blank on names.
It's not that memorable. And I think the thing with Shawshank is it is a great movie, but what did he do to change the way like movies and cinema are done? It did nothing. It's just like a very good movie that has very good like people working on it from the cinematography and stuff. But it does not reinvent. It does not bring something new. It did not inspire new generations. And the way that Quentin Tarantino did that, he should have this. It deserves more attention because, especially for a movie of that kind, he made over 200 million in the box office. Pulp Fiction doing that amount of money just shows how much people wanted something different, how much people wanted to see something that pushed the boundaries. And that's what Pulp Fiction did. But it was just ahead of his time. So the question is today, what movie should have won? The question today is Pulp Fiction easily.
Yeah.
Aniolo, are you really gonna? Sorry, Tristan. Do you mind?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Aniolo, are you really gonna pretend and say that Pulp Fiction is the first non-linear movie to like?
It's not. Shortcuts
Yeah.
came the year before, and
No,
Shortcuts does
even-
exactly the same.
Even a decade before, you can look at Leone with Once Upon a
Not a
Time in
question of
America.
being the,
No,
it's a question of being the first one, but it's the question
I think there's
that
films that
did
have
it in
come
a
out prior
way.
that have done it just as well, if not better, than Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction.
Pulp Fiction was
impact
on the.
is unmeasurable, but it's like let's be serious here and let's measure it in comparable to everything. It's a great Best Picture winner. I mean, it's not Best Picture winner. Forrest Gump won Best Picture. But it's a
Oh,
great
you
Best
agree?
Picture
You
movie.
agree? It's the best picture.
No,
winner.
I don't think
No,
it's
no, no.
even a great movie.
Thank you. I'm glad you agree that he should have won because you even thought he won.
Are you gonna try to hit me on hyperbole?
Yeah.
Calm down, Oniolo. Calm down. No, but you're acting like it's so high and mighty just due to the aspect of the way the story is told. When there's been other films, even in the same year, you can even argue that Forrest Gump kind of tells a story on non-linear fashion. It's not. That's not what makes Pulp Fiction special to me. And I don't think it's deserving of the Best Picture winner due to that standpoint.
Pulp
That's
Fiction.
not the only point. It's everything together. A movie is not just one thing, but it makes non-linear storytelling in a way that the audiences that are not cinema guys like us understand and are engaging. And that is the thing. It's not just doing something that has done before. It's the way he did it. And you cannot come to me and say that when we talk about the movie that made non-linear movies like kind of a thing today, that most people won't think about Pulp Fiction.
Let's go to Tristan.
The way it juggles storylines was obviously revolutionary, even though it does wear its influences on its sleeve. But what I'll say is, when we look at these three movies, Pulp Fiction is easily the least meaningful. It doesn't really have anything to say, I don't think. And look, you don't necessarily need something to say to be a Best Picture winner, but it really pales in comparison from being emotionally resonant compared to Shawshank and to Forrest Gump, which I think pack a much stronger punch. And then with Shawshank, I love that movie. It's incredible. And look, box office doesn't necessarily matter, but Shawshank was a huge bomb at the time. Like, it did not do very well at all. And I think we do need to take that into consideration because for the culture at the time, Shawshank was a sleeper hit. It didn't really reach its peak until much later. People love it now, but at the time, it wasn't the hit it was. And also, I feel like Shawshank does a very similar thing that a lot of other 90s films did. It's not really breaking any boundaries. Whereas Forrest Gump, sure, it does fit within that 90s canon, but I feel like it's doing something completely different with the technology. And yeah, it's very American, but I think it does it in a way that anyone can connect to because it's got this beating heart at the center and because Tom Hanks gives such an emotionally resonant performance.
Tristan, I see where you're coming from in part, but I do think even with Shawshank kind of staying in the vein, it does everything at an aspect of a level 10. You can talk about cinematography, you can talk about Thomas Newman's score. Everything in Shawshank is done perfectly. Things like Forrest Gump, and I found it really funny that Aniolo attacked you for the problematic aspects of Forrest Gump because I would say Tarantino's usage of the N-word, especially in the third act of Forrest Gump, is far more problematic than Tom Hanks portraying a mentally disabled person in Forrest Gump. But I think for Shawshank, it goes down to what makes a film timeless and what makes a film timely. And I think Shawshank is a perfect representation of that. Unlike Forrest Gump and unlike Pulp Fiction, I think Shawshank is the one that has been most revisited. There's a reason why it's always in the top 20 on Max whenever you go on HBO Max and look at the top movies. There's a reason why it's number one on IMDb. I think the legacy of Shawshank, even though it wasn't a box office success, still remains. And it has held up better than both Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump in that respect.
All right, so that's going to end it. All right, Dev, the most important round, the rebuttal round, our favorite round is over. Your thoughts on how all the chaos went down?
I thought Tristan did really well. He brought up a lot of good arguments, and in my personal opinion, I thought he had the best defense for some of the arguments that were brought up by the other competitors. And Yalo was also very strong, but I did feel like he kind of brought up a lot of similar arguments he made in his opening statement.
Tristan and Yolo obviously taking different approaches, and Yolo deciding to, go right out of the gate while Tristan waits till near the end. All right, Kyle, 21.6 at the bottom still. Tristan, Agnolo, very close neck to neck, 25.1 to 25.2. Agnolo still in the lead, as he has been since the end of round one. So one more round, though. The closing arguments. Kyle, we're going to go to you first, 60 seconds.
It's plain and simple why Shawshank is the best. It is timeless. It is the best movie. It's inspirational. It fits the narrative of what a Best Picture winner should be. It's still revered today. People still watch it consistently today, more so than I feel Pulp Fiction, more so than I feel Forrest Gump. I think both of them are great movies as well, but there's issues with both of those movies thematically and in the whole of the culture that affects it narratively and how people view those movies. And I think for Shawshank, when you look at all the aspects that make Shawshank a special movie, it's hard to ignore that it stands above the rest. Even when it plays the narrative kind of tightly as kind of like a thin barrier of like something that you would expect from a movie, something that you expect from like a very classic movie as well. But it does everything on a level that is maximized. There's nothing that you can really say bad about Shawshank in terms of its execution. So I just feel for me, Shawshank remains the best. There's issues with Forrest Gump that, for me just don't work. A lot of the way that the story is told, it seems a little sappy at times.
Look, you can make the argument that Forrest Gump doesn't hold up as well today, but I think, I don't think that's true because people are still quoting that movie, I think, even more so than Pulp Fiction and Shawshank. It has really seeped into the culture, and it's obviously affected not only, the people who were watching at the time, but future generations as well. It's a film that promotes perseverance and hope and friendship, and it's got this huge beating heart. And Tom Hanks' performance in that film, I think, just means a lot to a lot of people. It is such an emotionally resonant and beautiful performance. And I think technically it pushed the medium forward. There are so many movies that took a note from Forrest Gump, even to today, stuff like The Irishman, using that technology to age, the aging technology that is taking a note from what they were doing with Forrest Gump, with putting him in different historical set pieces. So the film, I think, it's a great film, and it really changed the
That's
media.
going to do it.
Okay, Tristan, I love you, but when you get the Irishman to talk about the push of technology, I don't know if I should laugh or not, because that's the worst thing
It's
ever.
a great movie.
And the other thing, I made some research while I was waiting, and you gave 3.5 stars to Forrest Gump. You gave 5 stars to all the other movies that we picked.
No, I give 2.5 to Pulp Fiction. I don't even like it.
You don't even believe yourself when you're talking about Forrest Gump. It's a very American movie. It does everything that it should for an American audience. And then we go to Shawshank, and that's the thing. Kyle keeps saying it's perfect. Yes, it's perfect in every element and stuff. When you put it all together, it feels just like any other movie. It feels like Oscar bait. It is like it hits all the buttons to people, because that's exactly what he was built to make. He makes you cry, he makes you, but that's what he wants. Pulp Fiction just brings something new. He wants to create like a future generation of filmmakers that will push the boundaries, that will make something different, and risk everything.
I'm looking it up. I'm pretty sure I gave Forrest Gump a 4.5.
I think I have Forrest Gump at 2 stars.
No, I have Forrest Gump out of 5 star.
Yeah,
I'm checking right
gave
now.
2 stars to Forrest Gump.
No, I don't like Forrest Gump at all. I think it's an awful movie.
The match is officially over. These aren't the final scores, but the final scores have been officially tabulated. We do have a cumulative winner at the end of the day. Dev, your brief thoughts.
In terms of the closing remarks, I felt like Kyle just kind of recycled a lot of stuff that he made over his rebuttal stage and didn't really bring anything new to the table. Uniolo I thought it was an interesting approach to try and, discredit Tristan a little bit more and make an argument more for the person versus, the actual movie itself. So I'm not sure how it worked in terms of arguing for the movie in question itself, but I felt like Tristan stayed very calm and collected.
I know in the lead right now. Let's see if that changes. And your winner, Tristan, the French-Canadian
Whoa.
French.
No way.
A score of 33.6 to 33 to Kyle at the bottom at 27.9. Great match, Tristan. Coming back, you had the second pick. You decided to go with Forrest Gump. And how do you think the match went as old? Did you want Forrest Gump? What were your thoughts heading into this match versus coming out of it?
Yeah, actually, so my favorite is Shawshank for sure. That's one of my favorite movies ever. But I did want to go with Forrest Gump just because I felt like I had a good argument for it, and I knew that no one else was going to want that. So I wanted to try and prop it up because I like that movie a lot. But it's so much fun to be back, and I really did not expect to win. I thought Aniello had that, so thank you. I'm excited to compete more in season 4.
There's no one I can blame but myself. I got the first pick. I picked Shawshank because I do feel it's the best. I wasn't prepared enough. I should have prepared more. I should have thought more about. I had in my head yesterday I was gonna get Forrest Gump. I'm gonna get last. They're not gonna. There's no way that the luck would work in my favor, and I can only blame myself. I will do better next time. I plan to win next time. Don't worry. I still think there's a long way till the season ends, and
Yes.
I expect to do better in the next Cinema Wars. So I'm sorry to all the fans I let down, but don't worry, there should be more from me.
Honestly, I thought I got it. I see what you guys say in the end, that I attacked more the men, but I said everything I had to say until then. And Pulp Fiction was my last choice. So I had Shawshank and then Forrest Gump because not that I think they lie. Shawshank, yes, I think is the best movie, but I just thought it would be easier to defend Forrest Gump than it would be to defend like Pulp Fiction in a way.
Dev, the match is over. Tristan, the winner, 33.6 to 33 to 27.9. Forrest Gump officially. I guess the Academy was right to pick it as the winner in 1994.
I mean, it's an interesting argument. I mean, it was a competitive year, just as competitive this round was for all three of our contenders.
Tristan comes out on top, guys, but so much more to go throughout season 4. So make sure you tune in every bi-weekly Sunday to see more movie debate action with fun prompts like this. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, guys. Comment down below what you would have picked as your answer for this prompt. Follow all these guys on their respective accounts. Links for those will be down in the description below. Take care, guys. As always, ciao.